Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mama Hub Genius Hub podcast. We're actually really recording our live episode number 2, even though we have them posted. This is the first episodes of when I declared this is going to be the Mama Genius Hub podcast. And so thankful to have Jena here today. And she is just a wealth of knowledge about how we get our kids into nature and change that driver. And she's also been a client of mine. So we could talk to her a little bit about her experience and stuff like that. So I'm just excited to go down this. So I'm just going to start by introducing her because you got to all hear this. Jena is an internationally recognized landscape architect, nature play expert, and the founder of N is for Nature Play. She teaches parents, early childhood educators, and others how to create sensory-rich nature play, base play, and learning spaces for children so they can grow their bodies, minds, and spirits. That's just amazing. Jena has spent her 23 plus years career designing children nature places, and learning spaces for children of all abilities and diversities. She gives such good ideas and specializes in designing supportive environments for children with autism and other neurodiversity. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. My throat's killing me, but I'm going to do my best. But that is just such a wealth of knowledge especially for those moms out there who just don't even know what to do because they're in such a state with having children that have such needs, and to find ways to get them out in nature and play. Welcome, Jena. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. We have a lot we can talk about. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with your story and what
Okay.
brought you into nature play and like just the background so they can get an idea of how wonderful you are.
Thanks. Yeah, I get asked that a lot actually. A lot of people say I didn't know that this was a thing as far as like something you could do for your career. Um, Quite honestly, I've been a landscape architect for a long, long time, and I got into designing children's landscapes specifically a long, long time ago at the beginning of my career. Is just sort of happy coincidence that all the chips fell in the spot where I needed to pay attention to, and I had a real interest in designing children's outdoor environments. And it actually started, and I don't think I've mentioned this to you, it actually started with how do you bring earth art into children's learning and play spaces, because I'm an artist as well. And so that just got the ball rolling. And then I started realizing how important that connection between children and nature is. And it is beyond anything I can describe in a few sentences. But from there, I got interested in children with additional support needs, special needs, neurodiversities. I've been doing that for about 20 years, and it's kind of a niche within this niche that I do. And the important point there that I have come to understand is that children experiencing neurodiversity, and actually all children, their sensory experiences of their environments are so incredibly important for their health, their happiness, how they understand their worlds, their ability to learn, their ability to play, their abilities to connect with nature, with others, with you as their parents, with themselves. And so, yeah, it's been kind of a long, kind of circuitous journey, but it's been so much fun. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Sorry. So I want to kind of break down. I'm losing my notes. Sorry. We're gonna get this.
You're doing great.
But I really want to start just off with some practical tips because I mean sometimes we struggle to get our kids away from the screens. We struggle to get these things, and we kind of in our heads know that nature would be good for them, but it's like how do we rectify that with our schedules and all that as a busy mom?
I know. I hear you. It is a struggle. Those darn phones get in the entire family's way, quite honestly. I mean, if we would put them down, it'd be good for us too to get out in nature. So if I had a big single takeaway for parents is that nature is the fastest way to calm our nervous system, to calm children's nervous system, to get them regulated and feel their bodies and their systems are in balance. And when a nervous system, whether it's yours or your child's, when it's happy, when it's regulated, when it's receiving the types of sensory stimulation that it craves, then that's why I always say happy nervous system is when a child can play to their greatest potential, can learn to their greatest ability, and can connect in the most deep and meaningful ways that they can as individuals. It's that important, and it's so foundational. And so there's some really simple ways that parents can help children regulate their nervous system through contact with nature. And it's so easy, like a walk in the park. There are studies that show that not only does it regulate a nervous system, but just time, even 15 minutes spent out in a green space, which could be these indoor plants, could be a walk in the park, it could be time spent out at the beach, it could be in your backyard. Actually, for kids with neurodiversities, ADHD, it actually can lessen their symptoms that they're experiencing with with ADHD. And there's studies that prove this. So it's really fantastic. And we take it so for granted that, go play outside. That's like the best thing we could say. Just get outside, go. That's the best thing that we can say to kids. We want them to be outside. We want them to connect with nature. And it can be as simple as whatever you have in your backyard. It doesn't have to be big fancy, like out in the woods. It doesn't have to be some big fancy park and playground. It's as simple as sending them outside with some really, with perhaps a space that is intentionally created for them. And
so coming to this idea of intentionally created for them, because I know you're so full of suggestions on that. How would we tackle that? Where do we even start?
You start with your kids. What do they love to do? Like all kids, they have something that they love to do. Do they love to read? Do they love to use their imagination? Do they love to build things up and break things down? Can they spend hours playing in water? So observe your kids. You are the expert on your kids. What do they love to do? I had a parent say, well, my kid doesn't like to spend a whole lot of time outside, but he loves to make, and he was 12 or 13, he loves to make videos of these little Star Wars figures, and he builds the backgrounds, and he uses Legos and all these things. Well, what I said to the mom was, what if you set up a table outside with a backdrop, and he's doing this outside? Just being out in the sunshine, fresh air. He's going to look at that table. He's going to play with it for a while, but he's going to look around the garden and go, that big pot over there with the tomatoes in it, that's my next scene. Like, I'm going to take my stuff over there. And then he's going to be playing over there. And then pretty soon he's going to be playing on the hammock. And pretty soon he's going to be playing under the shrubs. And so if you give them the opportunity and make it irresistible, something that they love to do, they will on their own start exploring and expanding their experience, connecting with nature, because it is in our DNA to do so.
Well, I'm just going to have to play on the words here, because what you're saying with the kids love to do, of course, that's the kids going into their genius zone.
Absolutely.
And things that they're designed in them to experience and enjoy. And so I almost say, like, as you're watching them, also pay attention, use your own curiosity to what it inspires in you to do. Because when we're doing that reciprocal play or whatever, and again, I like, as you said, with the Legos playing outside, and we always, as moms, sometimes think we have to play everything that they're doing. And I want to stop that right now and just say, start finding the things you guys like doing together, and just make sure you put those into the day rather than saying, and then give them their space and time to create their own thing, because Legos is definitely not my thing. I don't like playing Legos. when Bella asks to draw, I'm like, okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
And it's like our creativity time together. But it's like find those moments, but making sure with that intention to get into that genius together.
Yeah.
And I love that. I would love some more ideas to do that in nature.
Yeah. I call it the adult-child parallel play, because you don't always want to play what they're playing, and you shouldn't. They should have their own time to be independent. And so if they want you outside and not necessarily right in their play space, then go, like I garden. Like when my kids are out playing in our garden, we have a sensory garden at home that I built. They're doing their thing, and usually they're playing together, but then they'll separate and go do their own thing, and they each have their own very different interests. And then pretty soon I'll be involved with what they're doing, and then I'll go back to gardening or reading my book or whatever it is that I feel like doing. But it is so important. You were talking about how parents can help kids get into their genius. And a big thing is back to that interest, being aware of what they love to do, because I'm a big believer that we all came into our these lives to find it out what it is that we all came in, I should say, with specific and unique abilities, gifts, passions, interests, skills, talents, and it's our job throughout our lives to find those breadcrumbs along this journey of opening up our gifts. And those breadcrumbs are tucked in all of our interests. They're tucked in all of our challenges. They're tucked in all of these things that we're immediately drawn to. And so the best thing we can do as parents is to view our kids as their own full spirit within their bodies that came in with these things that they need to track down, find these little crumbs. And so in childhood, they're drawn to so many things. And it's not just about the sensory experience, it's about finding those crumbs. And yes, the sensory experience are ways that kids really understand their environment. And I could go into major detail on that. But we need, as parents, to also give them the time and the space to really explore those things. And that's the best way that we can help them get into their genius, get into that flow state that kids are natural. That's their innate place, is in flow, and that's where their genius is. And that's where their highest versions of themselves exist.
I love that so much. And then I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you, because I know that we talked a lot about nature and the connection. And that's another aspect of what we do here is we really just talk about how do we connect better with ourselves, with others, and how does nature play into that?
Oh boy.
I'm just going to put you on the spot.
I could talk for hours on this. I will say nature and connection. Nature, our bodies are our first home, right? They're our first home. They house our spirits. Nature is our second home. Nature is what our bodies evolved over time in. It is what our DNA is coded to relate to orient to understand, and to communicate with. And so when we connect with nature, we actually feel there's physical manifestations of health and well-being. We instantly feel better when we watch a sunset. We instantly feel better when we look at the expanse of an ocean. A roly-poly bug under a rock that the kid just turned over. I mean, it's everywhere, and we connect with it. We are meant to. And so I'll say we connect with that feeling of home that we can never quite describe.
I love that. And I love the fact that you said feeling, because I mean, I think that's ultimately what we forget, that that's what we're striving for, is these feelings that we have, and feeling more of those. Because we're always like, well, when I have achieved this, then I'll feel that. So my question then would be, what's holding you back from feeling that now?
Yeah,
that feeling that you have already. And I love that parts and taking your time to be in nature can help bring that feeling more in the present, versus waiting for some achievement that's probably not going to bring the feeling anyway.
Yeah, because that's something external. I mean, really, what does it matter when it comes down to it? At the end of the day, at the end of your life, what will that matter? But when we connect with nature, which is connecting with ourselves, when we connect with our children, which is also connecting with ourselves, and we're doing huge favors for all involved. Totally lost my train of thought. It's okay. So connecting with
nature.
Okay, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. That's what makes us feel full. That's what makes us. I mean, if we redefined, I saw this like as a scrolling through my Facebook the other day. If we redefined how people felt in our presence, like the safety and the whatever, how they felt in our presence as a measure of success, how different would this world be? It's like, yes, how different would this world be if we turned upside down some of these things that we have come to believe? And there's so many things, Michelle, that you talk about. You talked about what's the how are you? How are you feeling? Or how are you? Well, I'm busy. What if we turn that upside down? How are you really feeling? It's okay to say how you're really feeling, but really, How are you feeling if you took a moment to realize all of the gifts that are around you right now, all of the magic that is around you right now? How would you respond then if you took a moment to realize what's really out there and what's really supporting you?
And what gets me with the I'm busy is it feels like, even because I'm still doing it to this day and working on stopping it, but it's an automatic response that we've put into ourselves. And I think that kind of guides, like, words are so important. And then that's guiding the feeling, because like if you keep saying I'm busy, if that's your response, you have that feeling of busyness. But I look at my days, and like I said, even in the last 2 weeks, I went from a blog to a podcast, and I felt less busy feeling wise, even though I probably did more between keeping mom duties and getting this going and stuff. But it was just because it was in line and the rhythm was going, like you say, with the genius, getting to that flow state.
Yeah.
That task wise, if I looked at my task list, I probably did more than when I was trying to do like a year trying to do the blog, like feeling, insane and doing it and not being in my flow stage. But I think that's what it comes down to, is that feeling inside us. So when I say I'm busy, so I was like, wow, how do we I like the words, it's like, I can't even fathom, like, what else can I say to answer, how are you doing? And I've gotten some ideas as I brought this question up, but it's like that feeling and sense of me, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's a subconscious response, unconscious response, because we're used to being busy, like you've already said. And so to find time in your day to really find presence and to connect with yourself, I think then you will find more authentic answers. That you say that to someone, like, I'm amazing right now. Like, Michelle, right now, I'm amazing. I feel amazing. I feel awesome. I feel great talking with you. Yeah, I've got a busy day. We both have busy days, but right now I feel amazing because I'm doing what I love right now.
You just inspired and answered me. I feel aligned with what I'm doing right now.
Fantastic. And you are, it's clear. And so, yeah, take a moment, get into presence, check in with yourself, and do that as often as you can. Parents, that is a great modeling behavior for your kids, because they know the moment is now. The moment is always now. They know that. We've forgotten that. But it's great modeling behavior. And I'll take that a step further. And because your kids know the magical moment is now, you can observe them, because they're in flow state as much as they can be. They're always in the present moment. They're always looking to do the things that they love. Take a cue from them as often as you can. They are wise beyond what we give them credit for.
That's what I like to say, is because with the check-in process that is in the digital courses I have, the first one is curiosity. And the best people, especially as moms, to figure that out through is, like I said, with your kids, when you're watching what they're doing and enjoying, is then deciding, do I want to do that with them?
Yeah.
And is that something that brings me joy? And that starts beginning to ask that question and figure out, what are the things that you still do enjoy doing? Because it's probably changed from before kids and stuff, and maybe just put your own needs off to the side. But then when we start looking at that and saying, I don't have to do everything that my kids are doing, but what are the things I do like doing? And then doing more of those with them, and then going, what are some of the things I still feel I'm missing that I need to do for myself? And then just take it in stages. But it's, again, unleashing that curiosity, which it brings curiosity back to the kids, what they're doing, curiosity of what we're going to do in nature, and all leads back to the same path.
Yeah. And it's not, they shouldn't expect this, like, a graph that looks like this for what they're doing. Sometimes you backtrack, sometimes you do these little loops and circuitous things, and that's just the fun of life. And it's discovering yourself.
Well, now that we've kind of jumped into this conversation, anyhow, Jena has also been has worked with me quite a bit, and so I want to touch base a little bit with that, so people can get an idea of what that looks like from her experience.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with that. So I worked with Michelle for 6 weeks. We met every week for some coaching, and it looked different every week. My gosh, Michelle, I mean, we did meditations. You did some, I don't want to say like, coaching, but I mean, it was the whole way. We did, we went in deep on what I really want. Like, what do I want out of my life? What do I want out of my day? we talked some about like, well, what's stopping me, and more often than not, what is stopping me or anyone else is not something that's in our external world. It's something that's in our inner world. And
Yes.
so, yeah, so there is a variety of methods to go through and kind of uncover that gunk. And Michelle, you were so effective in, like, it was like our first session. I think I had my biggest breakthrough through in the first like 1 or 2 sessions, which was really phenomenal, because it really set me up for kind of some smooth sailing professionally, because I realized there's a lot of stuff that we all do this. We stuff it way down. We don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends up holding us back in life. And it's like, I don't know why I can't accomplish XYZ, and I don't know why I want to do this, but I don't feel inspired. Well, it's stuff that's in your inner world that's kind of like pulling you back. And so Michelle kind of like comes in with those scissors and cuts that little rope, and you're like, yes, I feel free now. And it's messy. It's messy. There was crying involved. There was lots of laughing, but that messiness was always progress forward. And so, yeah, that 6 weeks was, and it was just so fun to connect with you once a week, and to reflect on what we did in past weeks, and then to say this is where we're headed today. And it wasn't where I thought. You used your intuition. It wasn't where you thought perhaps that you just kind of lived in the moment and said, well, this is where I think we should go today. And so it was kind of this loose framework, which I really appreciated, because that speaks to me and that's how I operate. So yeah, that's if you ever want to work with Michelle, I so highly recommend her. She's so wonderful.
I received that, because that really spoke to my heart right now. And I
Good. It is intended that way.
And what I want to say is, yeah, the framework was loose in a way. We were still going through making sure we're going through the check-in process, but it was tailored to you and what I felt that you needed at that moment, so we could shift through the parts you are. And I don't even like to use the word struggles, because we again, it's a choice of wordings, but just some roadblocks in front. And it's again how we choose to define it, because we can say that, yeah, we are going to have roadblocks. We're going to have things that come in front of us. And it's always just how we respond to those things. And the more that we can respond rather than react, because I'll tell you, even this morning, I woke up, you can hear my cold. I woke up just grouchy. I was a little drowsy because I took some medicine. And then I just tried to ask my son something really just about his schedule, and if I could pick up, and he just snaps right at me. And that energy just shifted right into me. And then all of a sudden my husband asked if he could do anything to help me. And I shifted it right back to him, and you can feel that energy shift. And so that is a daily thing, that when we're shifting our energy and doing those things. And so every time the session's going to be a little bit different in terms of where you're at that moment. And that's the same thing of any day of where we're at. And to keep in mind that this is a journey in who we are. There is no destination.
Yeah, no, there's not.
Because I think we get stuck in that. There are celebrations along the way, though. Many, many celebrations. But it's not like, oh, I'm here and I'm done. No, I've celebrated who I am. And that really is what it comes down to, is celebrating each other. Because a lot of times, especially for women, I felt, and I know I saw that in you, trouble receiving and celebrating the good parts in that. And you would say something, you're like, blah, 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 and I'd be like, stop.
Yeah.
We truly need to celebrate that. And I do that for myself too. But it's so much easier to see that in someone else and go, you need to do that. And just celebrate together.
Well, I know. And it's hard to see things because when you're like achieving what you think is this huge goal, you forget, you don't see these little steps along the way as being celebration worthy. You don't see yourself as celebration worthy sometimes, or maybe a lot of the time. And that's so opposite of what, like, that's one of those things we need to turn around. And so thank you for showing me that in those sessions, because that on the other side of your sessions, I'm a more effective person all the way around. So yeah, absolutely.
Makes me hurt. Yeah. So as we're getting closer to, is there anything, I know I kind of switched gears on you, but I want to just circle back. Is there anything else on nature play that you want to dive into? Because what I was thinking, because you know me, I'm always throwing out ideas there, maybe just breaking down for those that want to be more creative and actually create something for their kids, what would be some first steps? And
yeah, okay, so create with your kids, because that way, it makes it irresistible and they're going to be using it more. But again, go back to their interests. What do they love to do? So some easy ideas, and things that can be indoors, outdoors, temporary, can be forts. Like build a little fort. Kids love to build blanket forts. Kids love to build things outside. They're cozy spaces. They can do so many. Sorry, I have a cold too. They can do so many different things inside a fort type structure, a little garden teepee or something like that, like reading, or maybe they take their toys out there and do imaginative play. They can build with loose parts, and everything can be done out in a cozy space. The other thing that parents can do, again, indoors, outdoors, temporary, is create what I call it's a kit of loose parts, and there's a whole theory behind loose parts, but essentially it's loose parts are things that can be manipulated by kids. So natural loose parts are stones and twigs and branches and seed pods and flowers and feathers and ribbons and all these things that kids you can often go find on a walk. But build a kit of loose parts, shells that your kids love to play with, and they actually use these materials in constructive play where they're building things, they're demolishing, they're rebuilding in a new way. They use it in imaginative play. There's so many ways to use loose parts, and you can tailor what's in your kit to your kid and what they love to do, and those textures and sensory stimulation that they love. You can actually tailor a loose parts kit around your child very easily. So those would be the top two suggestions I have.
Well, I want to stay with loose parts. My kids seem to gather them, and then I would put some old pots outside, and they'd be cooking away with all their stuff. And one time they actually did like cook it on the fire just to see what it'd be like. Just to see the smells and stuff.
Absolutely. I'm like, you and I were on a call on Sunday night, and I came in and I'm like, I smell like campfire, because my kids were out. It's freezing cold in Spokane, Washington, that night. It had been raining, but they wanted to build a campfire. And so I'm like, all right, we go out and build a campfire. And I mean, it's like this big. So I showed them how to do it. This is how you get a fire going. This is how you keep it going. And then I walked away and I went and watched from the kitchen window. But they kept that thing going for a half hour. I was so impressed. And it was my kids, my twins, and their little cousin. And they were just like, that was their focus. And that's what, they were totally interested in that. And they were outside in weather that probably you and I wouldn't want to be out in. It was amazing.
Well, my kids are in scouts. They've built a lot of fires. My husband will kind of make a fire pit to burn all the brush around. Yeah. So rather than just put it on the street to be collected, they will have these big bonfires and keep track of it and keep putting it back in there. And they're outside almost all day. And I'm just I go out for a little bit, get my fresh air, and come back inside.
Mama's gonna go take a bath. But that's life skills. So it looks different every day.
It does, and I just recommend as much as we can. And I know it's hard sometimes when the kids are just like, I don't want to go outside. I'll have those fights with them, and I think the fight lasts sometimes 15, 20 minutes even, and then finally. Fine, I'll go outside. And then I'm only going outside for 5 minutes. I don't see him for another 2 hours.
Right. It's tough getting them off of those things that have become such an integral part of our society, those screens. It can be very challenging.
My problem is the weather. So it depends on what the weather is.
True.
It's too windy. It's too cold. There's not enough snow to build anything, so I don't want to go out there.
I know, yeah, and that's where that irresistibility factor really needs to get bumped up a notch. So,
but I love that. Oh, and the one thing I want to add about connection and before we move on to our final questions is when my littlest daughter is, I think, more I don't know, soul one, or just I call her my bohemian. But we went on a walk. I think she had a doctor's appointment or something. So there's a nature center behind there. We went for a walk, and then we were just just put our hands in the trees, and you could feel the pulsation and the energy. And she was just enjoying it so much. And so I think she's picked that up a little bit every once in a while doing that. But I feel and it's just, my husband looked at us, go, "You're from California, you're the tree hugger." But it's true. There's something about it. Really, you feel the vibration and the power of the trees, and really it does help center and ground you. So I recommend just giving it a try and just Talk to the trees. Be
Well,
crazy.
my older twin, when she was 4, she's like, we were outside in the garden. She's like, Mom, I really want to hear the songs that the plants sing. And I'm like, oh, child after my own heart.
But even like when you sit there in the wind and you hear the rustles and,
Yes.
and everything, and you start to hear and you start to feel it. And I
Yeah.
love the concept. I mean, when you look at the actual trees, they have a connection between them underneath, and they have what they call mother trees that are supporting some of the ones. And so if some aren't getting enough water or something, they'll send it through the roots. And so there is that
they
whole
communicate.
diverse system.
Yeah.
And the grounding of all of it, it's there. Let's get ourselves and our kids out into nature more. We were supposed to walk my neighbor's dog today, and my daughter was like, "Can we go to the path?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll see if I get the dog in the car." So I text her. She's like, "No problem. You can take him." And so I have a date with my youngest to go on the walking path today with my neighbor's dog. I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not going to take my morning walk only because I have it planned in the afternoon."
Awesome. That's awesome. What a great way to spend your time.
So again, I think it's just throwing out the things you like to do, because then all of a sudden she was like, "Yeah, Mom, but I want to go here." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And my other daughter actually 2 nights ago had seen something on the bus ride home and wanted to go find it. She's like, "Mom, will you take a walk with me?" And she never asks. I'm like, it was cold and dark. I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And I was grateful I did, because I had skipped my morning walk that day too and got it in. So it's when you put the energy out there, it comes back, and they'll come there with the ideas for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to start wrapping up, and we're going to try to do some general questions. You've already answered one of them. I'm going to make you answer it again. But these are the general questions I'm going to ask moms to come on the show. So anyone who's listening to be a future interviewee, these will be your questions. So number 1, Miss Jena, share your favorite book or resource that has a significant impact on your journey as a mama.
Yes, I read this book when my twins were 2, and it's called, I wrote it down because I don't want to screw it up, The Conscious Parent, Transforming Ourselves, Empowering Our Children, by, and I'm going to screw up her name, Dr. Shefali Sabari.
Can I just laugh right now?
You may.
Because that was the same book Lindsay said yesterday.
Yes. Must be a good one. Must be a good one. Yeah. No, that one was, I saw her on, I don't know, somewhere on social media. And just like what the kids were first born. And I was like, I know there's a way I want to parent. And it's not necessarily how my next door neighbor parents or the PTA president parents. It's different. It feels different. And that book, I really connected with Dr. Shefali's message, and then read her book, and I'm like, holy moly, this speaks to how I want to operate as a mom. And so I'm really glad I read that when the kids were young, and I think it'd be good for a parent with a child of any age. It just speaks to a larger.
You can never stop trying to find new ways to connect.
We will never stop being mothers.
No.
Ever.
I don't even care if your kids are 50.
Yeah, totally.
Number 2 for you. What is a special family tradition or ritual that brings joy to your household and encourages connection? Because I'm all about the connection and I need ideas.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be parents and moms who have a reaction to what I'm going to say. But my kids never slept well. Like, they didn't sleep until they were 2.5. And so I would go in at night from the time they were just newborns until they're 8.5 years old now. And when it's bedtime, I go and I lay down with them and we talk for probably a half hour. And sometimes we talk about their day. Sometimes we talk about some of the things they're experiencing at school, good or bad. Sometimes they talk about, who knows what, crazy things. Sometimes I make up stories. They like me to make up stories about our cats that passed away 3 years ago. And so I make up these crazy stories about and funny enough, the cats' names are Donkey and Rooster. Donkey and Rooster go on these adventures, and it's, all these things that Donkey and Rooster do that are really funny and sometimes, humorous always. But
we got Shadow and Pumpkin, so.
have a pumpkin as well. I have
was writing her stories. So I
yeah,
totally understand that.
our pumpkin's a shark. Yeah.
But honestly, I've noticed my kids are very talkative because they don't want to go to bed. It's actually not a bad time if you and even if you plan a little bit ahead to like get them to bed a little early to have those conversations. Because my kids got really talkative and like, oh, I guess stay up a little bit later in bed.
Well, yes, that and for me, regardless of the age, it was like they're calming down. We're all calming down. There's no phone involved. They get my undivided attention. And so it's been, I mean, and sometimes it's longer than a half hour. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys, it's like 9:30 right now. You need to go to bed because I'm tired. But it's just one of those special times. My dogs are barking. Special times that we can connect. And a lot of parents like, kids go to bed, I'm going to bed, or I'm going to go watch a movie or whatever it is. Nah, we do that connection time before everyone goes to bed. And it just seems it's such a beautiful connection point.
It is. Well, number 3, you've already answered for us. So just give us a brief answer to how you would define the word answering I'm busy.
Well, again, I would say that power of presence and checking in with yourself and really like, just
it's all right. It's mom life.
Real life, honoring yourself enough to give an authentic answer and not just revert to an unconscious answer, because busy doesn't even begin to describe what is happening in your life. So yeah, honor yourself to provide an authentic answer.
And you probably already answered this one as well, but we'll describe what genius means to you and how you feel living in your genius.
Yes, that goes back to what I was saying about like we all came in with unique abilities and skills and gifts and talents and all these things that we spend our lives trying to uncover and open up. And our kids came in with the same objective. And so when we take the time, when we create the space and follow our passions, those are the crumbs along our journey that guide us to those gifts and talents and abilities. And they're all unique and they're all equally important, no matter who you are.
Yes.
That's genius.
And then how do you encourage your kids to explore new things and live in their genius?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's your nature.
Yeah, my kids are so different. I mean, every mom says that because it's true. They have such different interests and different ways of connecting with people. And so again, it's giving them the space to do that, not programming every moment of their afternoons with classes and courses and whatever, but giving them real time to follow those things and to be out in nature and to connect with their bodies through their sensory experiences. That's the fastest way, I believe, in my professional and personal experience to uncover kids' gifts, because for kids, they are right under the surface. They are.
Thank you so much, Jenna, for coming on here. Give everyone a quick idea of how they can get a hold of you. Links will be in the description anyways, but just give us a quick.
Yeah. Website is nisfornatureplay.com. I'm on probably social media platform that's most active is Facebook. So I have a page there as well. And I would also invite your audience to join my private group, which is where all the magic happens. And that is called Sensory Rich Nature Play in Facebook, also on Instagram.
Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to dive in some more. This was the only interview for today. On the live part, we'll have some more Q&As tomorrow with some of the episodes that have already been published. And I hope everyone can join us for the Women's Circle on Thursday night. Can't wait to see you guys, and we'll catch you in the next interview. Thanks, everyone.